A father takes his 6-year-old daughter to the hospital after she breaks her arm in a terrible accident. He's exhausted, stressed, and bleeding from a head wound. He sits down in the waiting room and closes his eyes for just a moment. When he wakes up, his entire family has vanished. No records, no proof they were ever admitted, no evidence they ever existed at all. The hospital staff looks at him like he's crazy. Security guards escort him to the door. A psychiatrist asks about his drinking problem, and the security footage shows something impossible. Ray Monroe walked into that hospital completely alone. So what happened to his wife and daughter? Is the hospital hiding something? Is Ray losing his mind? Or is there a third option? Something darker than either of those possibilities? This is Fractured, a 2019 psychological thriller directed by Brad Anderson, the same filmmaker who brought us The Machinist. It stars Sam Worthington as Ray Monroe, Lily Rabe as his wife Joanne, and Lucy Capri as their daughter Perry. The movie premiered on Netflix and immediately started trending because of one thing, that ending. But here's the thing about Fractured. The ending only works if you understand everything that came before it. And most viewers miss the clues the first time. So let me walk you through exactly what happens in this movie, scene by scene. And by the time we reach that final mirror shot, you'll see the whole story in a completely different light. The movie opens with the Monroe family driving home after a long Thanksgiving visit to Joanne's parents. Ray is behind the wheel. Joanne is in the passenger seat. And 6-year-old Perry is in the back, listening to her Walkman and looking bored out of her mind. Right from the first few minutes, director Brad Anderson establishes two important things. First, the family is under serious stress. Ray and Joanne argue about everything. The route home, stopping for gas, whether Perry needs a jacket. It's the kind of passive-aggressive fighting that tells you this marriage has been struggling for a long time. Second, Anderson plants visual clues everywhere. Notice the cracked windshield. The way Ray keeps glancing in the rearview mirror. The fact that Perry's Walkman keeps cutting out, which means she's hearing bits and pieces of her parents' arguments. Every detail matters in this movie. Joanne wants Ray to pull over at a rest stop so they can take a break. Ray resists at first because he wants to get home before dark. But eventually, he gives in. They exit the highway and pull into a gas station that also has a small convenience store. This is where things start to go wrong. Ray goes inside to grab a few things. He picks up batteries for Perry's Walkman because the ones she has are dying. He grabs a soda for Joanne. And here's a detail the movie wants you to notice. Ray also grabs 2 small bottles of whiskey from the display near the register. When he gets to the counter, he realizes he doesn't have enough cash for everything. So what does he leave behind? The batteries. He pays for the soda and the whiskey and walks out. It's a small moment. Easy to miss. But it tells you something important about Ray's priorities. His daughter's Walkman can wait. His need for alcohol cannot. Back at the car, Joanne asks where the batteries are. Ray lies and says the store was sold out. And just like that, the foundation of this family starts to crack a little more. While Ray and Joanne are arguing by the car, Perry realizes she's lost her favorite compact mirror, a little pink thing she's had since she was a toddler. She unbuckles herself and starts walking back toward the store, retracing her steps. But she takes a wrong turn. Instead of going to the gas station, Perry wanders toward an abandoned construction site behind a rest stop. There are no fences, no warning signs, no barriers. Just a half-finished building and a massive pit where the foundation was supposed to go. And then the dog shows up. It's a large stray, dirty and aggressive, with its teeth. When Ray finds Perry, the dog is inches away from her face. There's no time to think. Ray picks up a rock and throws it as hard as he can at the dog to scare it away. The rock hits the ground next to the animal. The dog yelps and runs off. Ray's plan worked. But the sudden movement and the loud noise startle Perry. She takes one step backward, and the ground disappears beneath her feet. Perry hears her scream cut off by the sound of impact. Ray doesn't hesitate. He jumps into the pit after his daughter. But the walls are unstable. He slips on the way down and cracks his head against a piece of rebar. The screen goes black for a moment. Ray's memory cuts out here. When Ray regains consciousness, he's lying at the bottom of the pit. His forehead is bleeding badly. His vision is blurry. But he can hear Perry crying somewhere nearby. They have to get Perry to a hospital immediately. Ray lifts his daughter onto his shoulders. Joanne climbs out first, then helps pull Perry up. Somehow, they make it back to the car. Ray gets behind the wheel and floors it toward the nearest emergency room. He doesn't call an ambulance. He doesn't check his daughter's pulse. He just drives. And he drives like a man possessed, running red lights, swerving into oncoming traffic, barely avoiding 3 separate collisions. This is the moment that changes everything. And none of them even know it yet. The hospital is called St. Jude's, a name that carries some heavy religious symbolism. St. Jude is the patron saint of lost causes. And the movie wants you to remember that. The emergency room is a disaster. There are patients everywhere, on gurneys in the hallway, sitting in chairs with blood-soaked bandages, lying on the floor because there aren't enough beds. The staff looks exhausted and overwhelmed. Ray carries Perry to the admissions desk. A nurse named Marie is working the intake station. She doesn't look up at first. She just slides a clipboard across the counter and tells Ray to fill out the forms. Ray can't fill out forms. His hands are shaking. He's covered in blood. Some of it Perry's, some of it his own. He needs a doctor now, not paperwork. Marie finally looks up. She sees the little girl with the broken arm. She sees the gash on Ray's forehead, and her expression doesn't change. She tells Ray they have to wait their turn, like everyone else. This is where Joanne steps in. She's calmer than Ray, more collected. She fills out the intake forms while Ray paces back and forth. Joanne provides their insurance information, their addresses, their emergency contacts. All of this goes into the hospital's computer system. Or does it? Here's a detail that matters. During the intake process, Marie asks if Ray and Joanne would consent to register Perry as an organ donor. Just in case. Joanne says absolutely not. Ray says absolutely not. Marie shrugs and moves on. But that question should bother you. Why would anyone ask that about a 6-year-old who came in with a broken arm? What kind of hospital prepares for a child's death before they've even seen a doctor? Ray doesn't notice because his head is pounding and he can barely stand. Joanne doesn't notice because she's focused on keeping Perry calm. But the audience should notice. Because that question is the first clue that something is very wrong with St. Jude's. After what feels like hours, a doctor finally appears. His name is Dr. Berthram. He's older, white-haired, soft-spoken. He has the kind of face that makes you trust him immediately. He kneels down to Perry's level and tells her she's very brave. The two of you must be exhausted, he says to Ray and Joanne. Let me take a look at your daughter. Dr. Berthram examines Perry in a small examination room. He checks her pupils, her pulse, her breathing. He confirms what Ray already knew. Perry's arm is badly fractured. But he's more concerned about something else. She could have a head injury, Berthram says. The fall was significant. I'd like to do a CAT scan to be safe. Ray agrees immediately. Anything to help his daughter. But here's where things get strange. Dr. Berthram looks at Perry and says something that doesn't fit. He tells the little girl that she has beautiful eyes. He says it more than once. He lingers on her face a little too long. The camera holds on Berthram's expression. There's something behind his grandfatherly demeanor. Something hungry. Sam Worthington, who plays Ray, has said in interviews that Berthram's actor was directed to play the scene as if he's sizing up a piece of meat. You probably won't catch that on first viewing. But watch Berthram's eyes. He's not looking at Perry like a doctor looks at a patient. He's looking at her like something else entirely. The CAT scan needs to be done in the basement. Ray asks why the imaging lab is underground instead of on the main floor. Berthram explains that St. Jude's was built on a hill. The basement is actually ground level on the other side of the building. It's a lie, but Ray doesn't know that yet. Only one parent can accompany Perry to the CAT scan. Joanne volunteers to go. Ray stays behind in the waiting room. He's exhausted, bleeding, and running on adrenaline fumes that are about to run out. I'll be right back, Joanne says as she follows the nurse toward the elevator. Get some rest. Ray finds a chair in the corner of the waiting room. He puts his head back against the wall. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. He can hear the beep of medical monitors, the murmur of voices, the squeak of shoes on linoleum. His eyes get heavy. He tries to stay awake. He really does. But his body has nothing left to give. His eyes close. The movie cuts to black. When the screen fades back in, everything has changed. Ray opens his eyes. The waiting room looks different. The lights are brighter. The chairs have been rearranged. There are new people sitting where his family used to be. He checks his watch. Hours have passed. He was asleep for hours. Ray stands up too fast. His head spins. The wound on his forehead has been bandaged while he was unconscious. He doesn't remember anyone treating him. He walks to the admissions desk. A new nurse is working. A woman he's never seen before. She's not Marie. She's not anyone from earlier. I need to see my wife and daughter, Ray says. Joanne and Ray Monroe. They came in with me. The nurse types something into her computer. She frowns. She types again. I'm sorry, sir, she says. There's no record of anyone named Joanne or Ray Monroe being admitted to this hospital today. Ray laughs. He actually laughs because he thinks she's joking. Check again, he says. I filled out the intake forms myself. My wife gave you our insurance information. The nurse checks again. Nothing. Sir, according to our system, you were admitted alone, she says carefully. You came in with a laceration on your forehead, probably from a car accident. We treated you, and you fell asleep in the waiting room. There's no mention of a wife or a daughter. Ray stops laughing. He demands to speak to Dr. Berthram. The nurse tells him there's no Dr. Berthram on staff at St. Jude's. She's never heard that name before. Ray starts walking. He goes to the examination room where Berthram examined Perry. It's empty. He goes to the elevator that goes to the basement. The buttons don't include a basement level, just first, second, and third floors. He asks every staff member he can find. Have you seen my wife? Have you seen my daughter? Have you seen a little girl with a broken arm and beautiful eyes? Nothing. No one remembers them. No one knows what he's talking about. A security guard approaches Ray. A doctor approaches Ray. A social worker approaches Ray. They all use the same words. Calm down, sir. You were alone. You need to take a breath. Ray shoves the security guard. He doesn't mean to. He just wants to get past him to search the rest of the hospital. More security guards arrive. Someone calls for a psychiatric consult. Someone else calls the police. And that's when Ray realizes the truth. Either his entire family has vanished into thin air, or everyone in this hospital is lying to him. And he doesn't know which possibility is worse. Dr. Jacobs is the hospital's staff psychiatrist. She's a calm woman in her 40s with a gentle voice and careful eyes. Ray tells her everything. The car ride, the argument, the rest stop, the dog, the pit, the fall, the hospital, Dr. Berthram, the CAT scan. He doesn't leave anything out. Dr. Jacobs listens without interrupting. When Ray finishes, she asks one question. Mr. Monroe, can you tell me about your first wife? The question hits Ray like a punch to the chest. His first wife was named Abby. They were married for 8 years. They had a daughter together. And then Abby died. A car accident on icy road. Ray was driving. He survived. Abby did not. Ray doesn't like to talk about Abby. He doesn't like to think about the accident. He doesn't like to remember the way the hospital staff looked at him when they told him his wife was gone. Dr. Jacobs already knows this story because she's spoken to the police. She knows that Ray lost his job after Abby died. She knows he started drinking heavily. She knows Joanne is his second wife and that he met her in an AA meeting. Mr. Monroe, trauma can do strange things to the mind, Dr. Jacobs says. Sometimes, when something terrible happens, our brains protect us by creating a different version of events. Ray doesn't want to hear this. He doesn't want to be psychoanalyzed. He wants to find his family. Dr. Jacobs brings up the security footage. She plays it on a monitor. The cameras show Ray arriving at the hospital alone, stumbling through the doors with blood running down his face. There's no Joanne. There's no Perry. There's no little girl with a broken arm. Your daughter's fracture, Dr. Jacobs says carefully. Did you actually see her arm break? Or did you assume it was broken because of the way she was crying? Ray thinks back to the pit. He remembers Perry crying. He remembers Joanne holding her. But does he actually remember seeing the fracture? Does he remember bone breaking through skin? No, he doesn't. He remembers falling. He remembers blacking out. And then he remembers climbing out of the pit with his daughter on his shoulders. The moment of injury is missing from his memory. Dr. Jacobs doesn't say the words out loud, but she doesn't have to. Ray can hear them anyway. What if your daughter was never injured because your daughter was never there? What if you imagine the whole thing? Ray refuses to accept this. He knows what he saw. He knows what happened. His family is here. They're in this hospital, and he's going to find them. Security tries to detain Ray for a psychiatric evaluation. He fights back. He grabs an adrenaline auto-injector from a crash cart and stabs it into his thigh to counteract the sedatives they've already given him. He breaks free. He runs. He hides in a dumpster until the coast is clear. And then he flags down 2 police officers in the parking lot. Ray tells the officers everything. He begs them to help him. He's not crazy. He's not drunk. His family is missing and the hospital is covering something up. The officers agree to drive Ray back to the construction pit. If Perry fell there, there will be evidence, blood, torn clothing, footprints in the dirt. Physical proof that Ray isn't imagining things. They arrive at the rest stop. The officers get out of the car and start searching the area around the pit. It doesn't take long. One of the officers finds Perry's pink compact mirror in the brush near the edge of the pit. The glass is shattered. The frame is bent, but it's her mirror. Ray would recognize it anywhere. Then the officers go down into the pit with flashlights. The K-9 unit is called in. The dogs start barking almost immediately. They found something. The officers come back up with grim expressions. Mr. Monroe, there's a significant amount of blood down there, one officer says. More than you'd expect from a broken arm. Way more. Ray's heart stops. Where's Perry? He asks. Where's Joanne? Are they down there? Are they hurt? The officers exchange a look. The senior officer puts his hand on his service weapon. Mr. Monroe, we need you to come with us. They don't believe him. They don't believe a girl fell into that pit. They believe Ray pushed his wife and daughter into that pit. They believe he's a murderer who invented the hospital story as an alibi. Ray sees the officer reaching for handcuffs. He doesn't think. He just reacts. He grabs the officer's gun. He locks both officers in a nearby storage container. And he gets back in his car and drives towards St. Jude's one more time. He's done asking for help. He's done explaining himself. If no one else will find his family, he'll find them himself. Even if he has to tear the hospital apart brick by brick. Ray knows the hospital is hiding something. He just doesn't know what. He sneaks back into St. Jude's through a loading dock. He knocks out a security guard in the hallway. He peers through the window in the door. Perry is lying on an operating table. She's unconscious, and 4-drip is attached to her arm. A surgical team in scrubs is preparing instruments on a tray. Joanne is in the corner of the room, strapped to a wheelchair, sedated and barely conscious. She sees Ray through the window. Her eyes widen. Her lips move, but no sound comes out. They were here the whole time. They were taken to the basement while Ray slept. They were prepped for surgery. And if Ray had arrived 5 minutes later, Perry would already be on ice, her organs destined for the black market. Ray doesn't think. He kicks the door open. He shoots the surgeon reaching for Perry. He shoots the nurse reaching for the alarm. He grabs his daughter off the table, for still dangling from her arm, and pushes Joanne's wheelchair out of the room. They run. They fight. They shoot. And somehow, impossibly, they make it back to the car. Ray throws Perry in the back seat. He helps Joanne in next to her. He gets behind the wheel and drives away from St. Jude's as fast as the engine will go. He looks in the rearview mirror. Joanne is holding Perry. They're both alive. They're both safe. Ray saved them. Let's go home, Joanne says, and she smiles at him. Ray smiles back. But watch the mirror. Watch it very carefully. For just a fraction of a second, the reflection changes. Joanne and Perry aren't in the back seat. There's a teenage boy there instead, unconscious, still connected to an 4-line. A random patient that Ray pulled out of surgery during his rampage. The mirror shifts back. Joanne is smiling again. Perry is sleeping peacefully. Everything is fine, but it's not fine. It was never fine. And the movie is about to show you what really happened in that pit. Here's the truth, and it's brutal. When Perry fell into the construction pit, she didn't just break her arm. She died on impact. Joanne climbed down into the pit to save her daughter. She found Perry's body. She started screaming at Ray. She blamed him for everything. For leaving Perry alone, for throwing the rock, for not watching her more carefully. Ray couldn't handle the screaming. He couldn't handle the guilt. He pushed Joanne away. Just a push. Just to make her stop. But the pit was full of debris. Rebar sticking out of the walls. Rusted metal everywhere. Joanne lost her balance and fell backward onto a piece of rebar that went through her chest. She died within seconds. Ray was alone in the pit with the bodies of his wife and daughter. His head was bleeding. His vision was blurry. And his mind, his traumatized, broken, desperate mind, did something extraordinary. It rewrote reality. Ray loaded both bodies into the trunk of his car. He drove away from the pit. And somewhere between the accident and the hospital, his brain constructed an entirely false memory. A story where Perry was still alive, Joanne was still fighting, and a corrupt hospital was the enemy instead of him. Everything after that moment is a hallucination. The hospital, the nurses, Dr. Bertram, the basement, the organ harvesting, none of it happened. Ray never went to St. Jude's. There is no St. Jude's. He drove to a real hospital, walked in alone with a head wound, and collapsed in the waiting room. The staff at the real hospital treated him for a laceration and a possible concussion. They asked about his family because he kept talking to people who weren't there. They called a psychiatrist because they thought he was having a psychotic break. And then Ray escaped. He stole a car. He drove back to the pit. He attacked the police officers. And he returned to the hospital to rescue a family that was already dead. The teenage boy in the back seat? That's a real patient Ray kidnapped from the real hospital's ICU. The woman in the wheelchair? A random sedated patient he mistook for Joanne. The movie ends with Ray driving into the sunset, his family safely in the back seat, a smile on his face. But then the smile fades. His brow furrows. His eyes go dark. Because somewhere, deep in his fractured mind, the truth is starting to leak through. Fractured is a movie about trauma, guilt, and a brain that would rather believe in organ harvesting conspiracies than admit to killing its own family. It's about how far the mind will go to protect itself from unbearable truth. The title doesn't just refer to Perry's broken arm. It refers to Ray's broken mind. And that final shot, Ray's smile fading as reality creeps back in, is one of the most haunting endings in modern psychological thrillers. So what happens next? Does Ray eventually remember what he did? Does he crash the car? Does he get caught by the police? The movie doesn't tell us. It leaves Ray in that moment, suspended between delusion and truth, driving nowhere with 2 dead bodies in the trunk and 2 strangers in the back seat. That's the horror of Fractured. Not the gore, not the conspiracy. The knowledge that the monster Ray was running from was himself the entire time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, hit that like button and subscribe for more movie breakdowns. And leave a comment. Did you catch the clues on your first watch? Or did the twist get you too? I'll see you in the next one.